Guys, today, Caitlin Clark named as an All-Star starter, but that's not the story here. That's not the surprise here. The story is that the WNBA players ranked Caitlin Clark as the 11th best guard in the league.
So the headline is that Caitlin Clark is an all-star starter again. That is not the story. The story is the number sitting right next to her name on the players' ballot, 11th among guards. Sit with that for a second, because right now it makes no sense at all.
And the media ranked Caitlin Clark as the third best guard in the league, not only behind Paige Bueckers, but behind Aliyah Miles as well.
And this is where it gets strange. There isn't one Caitlin Clark in this data. There are three of her. The fans have their version. The media has a completely different one, slotting her third, behind Paige Bueckers and behind Aliyah Miles. And the players have a third version that does not resemble either of the other two. Three electorates, three verdicts, and the distance between them is enormous. Two of these rooms basically agree with each other. The third one wandered off on its own, and nobody is telling us why. I am going to come back to that player's number later in the video, because once you understand how that ballot is actually built, it hits very differently than the outrage wants it to.
That would mean so much to me. For the first time in franchise history, we've got three, count them, three WNBA All-Star starters. Money Mitch, Aliyah Boston, and of course, CC22.
And this is what makes the whole thing even weirder. This is a franchise first. Three all-star starters out of Indiana in a single year: Kelsey Mitchell, Aliyah Boston, and Clark. No other team in the league landed three. Not the Aces, not the Liberty, not Dallas, not Minnesota. One team, three starters, more than anybody. So the group around Clark is being celebrated. Her teammates are being validated. The Fever are the center of gravity in this sport right now, the team everyone else is scheduling their season around. Her games are the ones pulling the biggest television audiences this league has ever counted, the ones that move road games into bigger buildings. The demand is measurable, and it is pointed straight at her. Which is exactly why the individual ranking of the one player who dragged all of that attention into the arena is the thing that leaps off the page and refuses to sit still.
Kelsey Mitchell being our starter, I'm going to assume here, is taking the place of the injured Kelsey Plum, because Kelsey Plum, she's been on a whole nother level. She has been the better Kelsey this season.
Now watch how this connects, because it is not only about Clark. Kelsey Mitchell got the starting nod in place of Kelsey Plum, who is out injured. And the point being made is that Plum has arguably been the better guard this whole season, playing at a level that is genuinely hard to argue against. Keep Plum parked in the back of your mind, because when we finally open up the players' ballot, it is not just Clark sitting in a bizarre spot. Plum is right there beside her. Two guards, back to back, in a place the fan numbers and the media numbers both say they do not belong. And that is what makes it a real question rather than a simple gripe. One low ranking is noise. Two, side by side, in the same unexpected place, is at least worth explaining.
The top two vote getters this season will not be WNBA captains. They're changing it up. They're bringing in legends from past years, and those two legends will be the captains of each team this year, and they will be picking their own teams.
Before we get into the ballots, look at how this event is even built now. The top two vote getters are no longer automatically the captains. The league flipped the format. They are bringing in legends from past eras to captain the two sides and draft their own rosters, playground style. It is a format engineered for a moment, engineered for spectacle, engineered to make people stop scrolling and watch, which is what makes the next decision so hard to explain.
Let me just say this now. The fact that this league announced starters 1 o'clock on a random Thursday in the middle of the day, not waiting for a prime time, not using the reveal as a lead-in for a game, that shows the incompetence of this league.
They announced the starters at 1 o'clock on a random Thursday, the middle of the afternoon. No primetime window, no lead-in to a nationally televised game, no build, no runway, nothing. This is a league sitting on the single biggest attention spike it has ever had, a spike with one specific name attached to it, and it dropped its marquee reveal into the deadest slot on the entire calendar. Think about what that reveal is actually worth as a piece of content. In any other league, the All-Star starter announcement is a produced television event with sponsors bolted on and ratings baked in. Here it went out like a memo nobody was supposed to read. Call it a scheduling quirk if you want. I think it tells you something about how well this league understands the gift it was handed.
Of this league. Now, I'm sure ESPN has the numbers of last year's reveal, and maybe they said, yeah, we're not going to waste a half-hour block on starters this year. We're not going to waste a half hour of our broadcast time on review.
And the money angle here is not a small thing, so let me stay on it for one more beat. The reporting suggests the network already had the data from last year's reveal and effectively decided the starter announcement was not worth a big block of broadcast time. Read that back slowly. The people who own the broadcast rights looked at the audience for revealing the faces of their own All-Star game and concluded it did not justify the airtime. That is a self-inflicted wound. You have a player moving television numbers this league has never seen, and instead of building a tentpole around the moment, you quietly let it slip out to save half an hour of programming. Every league that has ever had a generational draw protected these moments like gold. This one treated it like an errand. And when you undersell your own stars, you should not act shocked when the conversation curdles into resentment.
So we take a look at the fan rank, right? You got Paige Bueckers 1, Caitlin Clark 2, Kelsey Mitchell 3, Olivia Miles 5, AZ Fudd 4. Now, the first return of votes, Paige Bueckers was ahead of Caitlin Clark. The second return of fan votes, Caitlin Clark jumped over Paige Bueckers by a significant margin.
Now the fans are not subtle about any of this. Across the returns, Clark was neck and neck with Bueckers at the very top of the guard vote. In one of the middle returns, she actually jumped clean over Bueckers into first. By the final count, Bueckers edged back ahead for the top spot, with Clark right behind her at 2 and Kelsey Mitchell at 3. So among the people actually buying the tickets, wearing the jerseys, and driving the ratings, Clark is a 1 or a 2, not an 11. Not within shouting distance of an 11. The people who made this league appointment television are telling you plainly where they rank her, and it is nowhere near the basement. That is the number you have to keep holding onto for the rest of this, because the canyon between how the audience sees her and how her own peers ranked her is the entire controversy compressed into a single picture.
Aliyah Boston leaps over A'ja Wilson and takes the top spot for the front court when it comes to fan rank. Okay. Media rank, Olivia Miles 1, so the media ranked Olivia Miles as the best guard in the league, followed by Paige Bueckers, then followed by Caitlin Clark.
Then the media ballot, which is its own separate argument. The media did not put Clark first either. They crowned Olivia Miles the #1 guard in the league, ahead of Bueckers, with Clark down at 3. And you are absolutely allowed to raise an eyebrow at Miles over everyone on its own merits. But look at what is really happening across these 3 ballots, because it is the key that unlocks the whole story. Fans reward what they feel, the shot making, the logo threes, the moments that detonate online. The media rewards a blend of season-long production, narrative, and the eye test. And the players reward something different yet again. Something that lives in the parts of the game the broadcast barely shows you. Once you separate those 3 lenses, these numbers stop reading like one shared verdict on Caitlin Clark and start reading like 3 different questions being answered by 3 different rooms. So the real question was never why is she 11th? The real question is what is the player's room actually measuring when it fills out that card?
Kelsey Plum playing far better than Alicia Gray, playing far better than Ryan Howard, playing far better than Kelsey Mitchell, playing far better than Marina Mabrey. Kelsey Plum is 12th.
So let's actually walk into the player's ballot, because this is where all the heat is. Clark 11th, Plum 12th, And the argument being made is that both of them are ranked below guards they have outplayed on the floor this season. And on the merits, that argument has a real point. If you believe Plum's tape this year is stronger than several of the names sitting above her, you are not crazy for saying it out loud. Now, the host takes this to a specific place. He frames the two lowest-ranked guards, being the league's most prominent straight white players, as the entire explanation that the players simply do not like Clark for who she is. And I want to be careful right here, because that is a serious accusation about the private motives of real people, and it is not something a ballot can prove. A ranking shows you the result. It does not hand you the reason. So before anyone locks in on the most explosive version of this, the honest move is to ask what else could push a high-profile, early career scorer down a card filled out by the very players she competes against every night.
They have the two straight whites, 11 and 12, when it comes to player ranking. This league is riddled with agenda, as Rhodes always says.
And it turns out a lot could. Players tend to weight the things the audience barely registers: defense, live ball turnovers, efficiency when the game tightens, whether you genuinely make the players around you better in a way that shows up on their film and not just on a highlight package. A high-usage guard who fires a huge volume of difficult shots and coughs the ball up at a high rate can be absolutely electric to watch and still get graded harder by the people assigned to guard her. There is also the plain reality that peer voting is human. These are competitors ranking competitors, and a rookie-era star who walks in with more attention than anyone else in the room has always, in every sport, been graded on a stiffer curve by that room. None of that requires a conspiracy. It just requires a locker room full of proud professionals. Now, could there be real disrespect folded into that number? Of course. An 11th place peer ranking for a player the paying audience treats as a 1 is a completely fair thing to be irritated by, and I am not going to sit here and tell you to feel nothing. But there is a canyon between two claims. One is that her peers graded her harder than the fans did. The other is that there is a coordinated campaign to sink her. Those are not the same sentence, and only one of them is supported by anything you can actually point at.
Now, good thing the players' ranks don't weigh for too much. Caitlin Clark still was amongst the top 3 in the weighted score when it comes to voting, but behind Olivia Miles and Paige Bueckers.
And this is the twist the outrage almost always skips because it inconveniences the story. That 11th place ranking from the players did not actually cost Clark a thing. The system does not run on the player vote alone. It weights all 3 ballots together, and once you blend the fans, the media, and the players, Clark still lands among the top 3 guards overall, behind only Miles and Bueckers. She is a starter. The players' number got outvoted by the rest of the process. So the machine already did exactly what it is designed to do. It took an outlier ballot and diluted it down to almost nothing, which means the truthful way to read that 11 is not "this is how the league values Caitlin Clark." It is one room, one lens, one data point that the full system quietly corrected, worth noticing as a signal, nowhere close to decisive as a verdict.
They really tried to drop her so far down that she would be getting replaced by a possible Ryan Howard, by a possibly an Alicia Gray.
But notice how far down they pushed her, because that is the part that keeps this alive. The claim is that the player vote tried to drop Clark and Plum so low that a Ryan Howard or an Alicia Gray could have slid in ahead of them. And you can argue that on pure basketball, are those guards, good as they are, genuinely having better seasons than Plum has been having, or better than what Clark drags out of an entire roster every single night? Reasonable people will land in different places on that. Somebody can catch fire for a week and light up a box score, and it still does not make them a better guard over a full season than the 2 names sitting at the bottom of this card. So even after you accept that the weighting saved Clark, you are left with a ballot that shoved her all the way to the margin. And whether that was a message or just a hard grade, the fact that we cannot see who did the shoving is the whole problem.
We need to make this known. Who these players vote for needs to be made public. I'm saying it right now. The fan vote should be the only just large lump sum vote that they dump. The media, they need to make the media vote public. And the player, we need to know who these players are voting for.
Which lands us on the one demand in all of this that I think is completely, unavoidably reasonable, and it cuts clean through the entire fight. Publish the ballots. Right now, the player vote and the media vote are dumped on us as anonymous totals. You get the outcome and none of the accounting. And that vacuum is precisely where every conspiracy theory grows roots, because when nobody can see who voted for what, people fill the silence with the ugliest available story. If this league actually wants to kill the bias narrative, transparency ends it in an afternoon. Show the individual ballots. Attach the ranking of Clark 11th to real names so it can be defended in the open or exposed in the open on its own terms. This is not a radical ask. Award voting gets published in other leagues all the time, and the sky does not fall. You cannot credibly ask fans to trust a number while hiding every single input that produced it. Sunlight settles this. Secrecy feeds it. And a league that keeps choosing secrecy right in the middle of the biggest spotlight it has ever stood under is giving you a kind of answer, whether it means to or not.
Get rid of this player rank and at least make it coach rank. Maybe the coaches have a little bit more integrity, but I wouldn't hold my breath. But this right here is disgusting. This right here is shameful.
So this is where the whole thing actually lands once the shouting dies down. Strip away the loudest framing and you are still holding something real. A player the fans rank first or second, the media ranks third, and her own peers rank 11th. Two of those rooms are looking at more or less the same guard. One of them is not. That gap is worth being frustrated by, and anyone waving it off as absolutely nothing is not being straight with you either. But the leap from her peers, graded her harshly to there, is an organized effort to tear her down, is a leap the evidence will not make on your behalf, no matter how good it feels to take it. What we can actually prove is small and stubborn. The ranking is strange. The waiting saved her anyway. And the league is sitting on the receipts that would end the argument for good. Everything past that line is interpretation, and you should be careful about anybody who hands you their interpretation wrapped up as a fact. So I am going to put it directly to you. Is that 11 a message the players were sending, or is it just a harder room grading a rookie-era star the way rooms have always graded them? Tell me exactly where you land down in the comments. Tell me which of these three ballots you actually trust. And if you want the version of this league's coverage that does not flinch away from the real questions, do me a favor, like the video. Subscribe to the channel, and I will see you on the next one.